So I hope that by sharing the experiences that I have can help the other engineers in general and women engineers specifically out there with their perspective and their life in general, and see whether we can actually motivate more women engineers to go out there and be the best that you can. So I climbed from the lower rank of the industry going up to my level now, which is the CEO of MMC Oil and Gas Engineering. And this is a company that carries the various roles of multidiscipline engineers, basically supporting the engineering design for onshore, offshore, if you're familiar with oil and gas, downstream, upstream, and also domestic and international. So I've gone through the whole roles of being an instrument engineer, project manager, GM, and also the CEO throughout my 30 years of life. And coming to this age, at, dare I say, 55, I'm also on a nation building mode. I think on the Maslow hierarchy of need, when you're at that level, you just want to give back, and that's my perspective at the moment. So I have been involved in MOGSC, which is the Malaysian Oil and Gas Services Council, an NGO that was formed in 2003, representing 500 oil and gas service companies in the industry. We call the oil and gas industry as OGSE. Yeah? So you'll hear me referring to it. Now, as Kai mentioned, I'm president for my third term. It's an elected position every 2 years, and a CSR term, meaning we don't get paid for it. And thankfully, I'm the first lady president since its inception in 2003. And before me, there was 3 gentlemen holding that position. So, going to the topic that I was given, what does it take to flourish as a women engineer? Now, first of all, just to be a woman in this world is hard. Why? Because if you see the flag there, being a woman working, you must think like a man, but you must act like a lady, but you must look like a young girl, and you must work like a horse. Now, please, anyone, would you dare to challenge that? I think everybody that's working will agree with me. This is the most terrible imbalance that we have to live with and challenges as we go through the life of working. So I can speak from my oil and gas engineering industry. So let me just give you a bit of landscape for this. Many are saying that the COVID-19 and the accelerating green growth movement around the world, the oil and gas industry dogmas have been eviscerated. So many are saying that fossil fuel is a sunset business with a cyclical drop in oil price, which is very sensitive to the geopolitical reasons. And at least in my lifetime, I've seen 4 cycles of oil price drop. Now, the world says that renewable will replace fossil fuel to sustain the environment and to meet the COP21 to address the global warming and the climate change issues. And I say that the movement will need to look and be custom-made. So the world says that we need to go to renewable, but I say going into renewable for a country must be custom-made to the availability of energy sources or alternative energy in that respective countries. So for Malaysia specifically, the alternative energy source that we have is not yet there. We have solar energy and we have biomass, but both are still inadequate in terms of technology, and it cannot address the energy trilemma, which is the energy security, energy equity, and energy sustainability. So in Malaysia, the most prominent alternative energy would be the solar energy, and with the daily sunshine in Malaysia, hours averaging of 4 to 8 hours a day, and the limitation of technology, I'll give you a perspective. 1 megawatt of solar, which incidentally requires roughly 5 acres of land, can only supply roughly 650 residents per day. It's very small value. So Malaysia still's got a long way to go before we can catch up with our European countries with respect to renewable energy. So to sum that, fossil fuel probably turning to gas for a cleaner energy, and incidentally again, Malaysia is the 4th largest world LNG exporter, is probably here to stay for the next 30 to 50 years before the technology probably catches up to satisfy our energy trilemma. That is at this point in time. I could be proven wrong with the technology that will be evolving. So as far as we are concerned at this point in time, for Malaysia, the oil and gas energy movement to RE or to renewable energy will be slightly delayed and very highly dependent on the technology and innovation to catch up. So that case in hand, I've painted the landscape, and it means that we still require the skill sets to serve this industry. Now, despite the wide gender diversity concept that we adopt in Malaysia industry, oil and gas is still very much a male-dominated industry. So how can a women engineer flourish in this industry? So I've established the landscape, meaning there is this requirement. And then if we look at the World Economic Forum report, the skill sets of the future in terms of the requirement, it requires a competency-based skill sets, which incidentally is actually things like adaptability, flexibility, being able to solve problems, and that kind of criteria. So let's go into women. Now, as I said, to start with, it's hard to be a woman. So the first thing, being an engineer, I have to be systematic about this. So being a woman, what does it mean? It means acknowledging the responsibilities. We are a wife, we are a mother, we are a sister, we are a daughter, sister-in-law, and all sorts of responsibilities that we have. And I've put there under the spiritual down there, if you can see, this is more for the spiritual side of it. And what is the women's speciality? Basically, nobody can contest that we are very good at juggling responsibilities because of all the roles that we have to have. We are built like that. So we are a multitasking creature, so to speak. When we start working as an engineer, we are constantly challenged, rocking my third diagram, the state of equilibrium, which is impacting our emotional, physical, spiritual balances, and consequently